The cold metal of my dog tags presses against my chest as I stand frozen at the altar of St. Joseph's Church. The bride, radiant in white, walks down the aisle toward me. But in this second life, in this miraculous do-over, I keep my eyes fixed. Not on her, but on the woman in the third row, whose tears aren't of joy, but of heartbreak. This time, I won't make the same mistake. This time, I won't marry the woman who betrayed me for status and security. This time, I'll choose the one who loved me when I had nothing. My hands tremble slightly, the phantom pain from injuries long, healed flaring up as it always does when my anxiety peaks. The church is packed with the Pittsburgh elite, her family's social circle, not mine. The scent of expensive perfume and fresh flowers is suffocating, so different from the desert dust that still sometimes fills my nightmares. The string quartet plays Pachelbel's canon, the notes floating through the vaulted ceiling of the historic church. But all I can hear is the thundering of my own heartbeat. Vanessa is stunning as she approaches. Her father, the state senator, beaming with pride. Beside her, her dress probably costs more than I made in a year as an army sergeant. The diamonds at her throat catch the light from the stained glass windows, throwing prisms across her perfect skin. She's smiling, but it doesn't reach her eyes. I know. That smile now. Recognize it for what it is, calculation. I glance again at Claire in the third row. She's trying so hard to be stoic, to be the supportive friend she's always been. Her simple blue dress is off the rack. Her only jewelry, the small silver pendant I gave her before my second deployment. She shouldn't even be here.
Ow.
No one should. Have to watch the person they love marry someone else. She came because I asked her to, because even now, she can't deny me anything. The weight of memory of a future that hasn't happened yet bears down on me. I remember the marriage that followed this ceremony, the 3 bitter years, the discovery of Vanessa's affair with my commanding officer, the divorce papers served while I was still recovering from the IED that took my right leg below the knee. I remember the humiliation, the betrayal, the crushing realization that she'd only wanted the decorated war hero, not the broken man who came home. And I remember what came after the drinking, the depression, the night I put my service pistol in my mouth, the split second before darkness when I wished more than anything that I could go back and undo it all. Then the impossible happened. I woke up here today, 5 years in the past, standing at the altar on my wedding day with both legs intact and a second chance I never asked for but desperately needed. Senator. Mitchell clears his throat beside me, a prompt to take Vanessa's hand as she reaches the altar. The diamond on her finger catches the light 3 carats, chosen by her mother, paid for with my combat pay and savings. The pastor smiles benevolently at us, ready to begin the ceremony that will bind us together. That will set us on the path to mutual destruction. But I don't take her hand. Jackson, Vanessa whispers, her smile faltering slightly. What's wrong? Everything is wrong. The gold cufflinks her father gifted me this morning feel like shackles. The polished shoes pinch my feet, so different from the combat. Boots my body still remembers. The uniform I wear isn't my army dress blues. Those weren't appropriate for the wedding her family envisioned. Instead, I'm in a designer tuxedo that makes me feel like I'm wearing someone else's skin. The murmurs begin to ripple through the congregation as the pause stretches uncomfortably long. Vanessa's smile becomes strained, her eyes darting to her parents in the front row. Her mother's face is already darkening with concern, ready to transform into the disapproval I became so familiar with during our engagement. I look past Vanessa to where Claire sits, her hands clutched tightly in her lap, her eyes now fixed on me with confusion. Claire, who wrote to me every day during my deployments. Claire, who drove 6 hours to the military hospital when I was first injured, before the worst injury that would take my leg entirely. Claire, who never once looked at me with pity, only with unwavering love. Love I was too blind to see. What too wrapped up in Vanessa's dazzling presence to acknowledge. The choice crystallizes before me. As clear as the mountain streams we used to fish in back home, I know what happens if I say I do. I've lived that future, felt its pain, tasted its bitterness. This inexplicable second chance isn't just about avoiding heartbreak. It's about finding the courage to choose differently. I can't do this, I say, my voice surprisingly steady, despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. The words hang in the air, followed by audible gasps from the congregation. Vanessa's perfectly composed expression shatters, her eyes widening in disbelief. "What are you saying?" she hisses, low enough that only I and the pastor can hear. Her manicured nails dig into my arm, leaving crescent moons in the expensive fabric. "I'm sorry, Vanessa. I can't marry you." The truth, once spoken, brings an unexpected wave of relief washing over me. In my first life, I'd ignored all the warning signs, her disdain for my hometown friends, her embarrassment over my modest background. The way she'd subtly pushed me toward career paths that would advance her own social standing. Senator Mitchell steps forward, his politician smile strained. "Jackson, son, perhaps you need a moment." Pre-wedding jitters are completely normal. His hand clamps down on my shoulder, steel beneath velvet. "Let's step into the vestry and talk this through." But I'm done with being guided, managed, molded into someone else's vision. I gently remove Vanessa's hand from my arm. There's nothing to discuss. I'm not having jitters. I'm having clarity. The whispers grow louder. Phones are already out, recording what will undoubtedly become the scandal of Pittsburgh's social season. Mrs. Mitchell rises from her seat, her face a mask of barely contained fury. Vanessa's composure slips completely. "You can't do this too." "Me," she says, her voice rising. "Do you have any idea how this looks? The invitations, the gifts, my dress." She stops, suddenly aware of their audience. Switching tactics, her eyes fill with tears. "Jackson, please. I love you. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it." My past life, those tears would have worked. I would have convinced myself that I was being irrational, that I was throwing away something precious. But now I see the calculation behind them. The same performance she'd given after I caught her with Colonel Brenner in what would have been our future. "No, you don't," I say quietly. "You love the idea of me. The decorated soldier, the medal. The story you can tell at cocktail parties." I take a step back, toward the side aisle. "But you don't love me, Vanessa. You never did." Her father moves between us, his face darkening. "Now listen here, Caldwell. You made a commitment to my daughter. It's this family. After everything we've done for you, what exactly have you done for me, Senator?" I ask, finding a courage I never had in my first life. "Tolerated me, tried to remake me in your image, reminded me at every turn that I should be grateful Vanessa chose someone like me." The church is utterly silent now. Even the string quartet has stopped playing, the musicians frozen with their instruments. In the third row, Claire has half risen from her seat, her expression a mixture of shock and something else, something that looks almost like hope. Mrs. Mitchell has reached the altar now, wrapping a protective arm around her daughter. "I told you he wasn't suitable," she says, not bothering to lower her voice. "Military men are too unstable for proper marriages." The comment ignites something in men, not anger, but a profound sadness for what almost was. How had I never seen the contempt beneath their polite smiles? In my eagerness to belong to Vanessa's world, I'd willingly walked into a life where I would never be enough. I turn away from the altar, from the life I almost chose again, and walk deliberately toward the side aisle. My steps echo in the cavernous space, punctuating the stunned silence. As I pass Claire's row, our eyes meet. The understanding in her gaze is like a lifeline in a stormy sea. Behind me, chaos erupts. Vanessa's controlled sobs, her mother's sharp commands the senator, attempting to address the congregation with some face-saving explanation. None of it matters anymore. In my pocket is the speech I'd written for my vows. Words that now seem hollow and performative, promises made to an idea rather than a person. The heavy wooden door of the side entrance feels cool under my palm. Sunlight streams through as I push it open, bright and clarifying. I step outside, loosening the bodhi that suddenly feels like a noose, and take my first deep breath as a man making a different choice than fate had originally scripted for him. The spring air hits my face as I stride away from St. Joseph's. each step putting distance between myself and the choreographed disaster I've just derailed. I loosen my tie, completely yanking it free and stuffing it into my pocket. The expensive watch Vanessa's parents gifted me for the engagement weighs heavy on my wrist. Another golden shackle I'll need to return. I make it halfway down the church steps when I hear the side door open behind me. Soft, hurried footsteps follow, not the angry pursuit I'd expected from the senator or his security detail, Jackson. Wait. Claire's voice stops me cold. I turn to see her standing there, sunlight catching in her auburn hair, her simple blue dress. Fluttering in the breeze, she's clutching her small purse with white knuckles. Her expression, a storm of confusion, concern, and something deeper. "What just happened in there?" she asks, breathless. "Are you okay? Am I okay?" It's such a Claire question, thinking of my well-being in the middle of the social catastrophe I've just created. In my first life, she'd asked me the same thing after. I returned from my second tour, while everyone else was busy thanking me for my service or asking about the medal. "I'm better than okay," I say, and mean it. I just avoided the biggest mistake of my life. She steps closer, searching my face. "I don't understand." "Yesterday at the rehearsal dinner, everything seemed ... fine." Fine. The word echoes hollowly. My life with Vanessa had been fine right up until it became unbearable. I'd accepted fine because I thought it was all I deserved. I woke up this morning and suddenly saw everything clearly, I say, unable to explain the impossible truth of my rebirth. Vanessa doesn't love me, Claire. She loves the idea of me, the story, the medal. I stop memories from my previous, life-threatening to spill out as accusations about things Vanessa hasn't done yet. Claire's eyes soften. "I know," she says quietly. "You knew?" Looks away, embarrassed. "Everyone who really knows you could see it, Jack. The way you changed around her. The way you stopped doing things you loved. The way you talked less and less about your real feelings." Her voice drops. But it wasn't my place to say anything. "You seemed ... happy enough. Happy enough." Another hollow phrase that had defined my first attempt at life. "Why did you come to the wedding?" I ask suddenly. "It must have been torture for you." Color floods her cheeks. "Do you mean Claire?" Step closer. Close enough to see the faint freckles across her nose that appear every spring. "I know." "How you feel about me?" "I think I've always known, somewhere deep down. Was just too blind, too caught up in Vanessa's world to acknowledge it." Her eyes widen, then fill with tears. "You never said anything. Neither did you. How could I?" she whispers. "We're so happy when you met her. So proud that someone like Vanessa Mitchell would choose someone from our neighborhood. And then you got engaged so quickly after coming home with that medal. ... She shakes her head. "I just wanted you to be happy, even if it wasn't with me." The selflessness of it strikes me like a physical blow. In my first life, Claire had eventually moved away after my wedding, unable to watch the slow dissolution of my marriage from the sidelines. I'd lost touch with her during the divorce, too consumed by my own misery to reach out. By the time I thought to find her again, it was too late. My depression had spiraled. My injury had worsened, and I'd convinced myself she was better off without me dragging her down. "Jack," she says, glancing nervously back at the church. "You just left your bride at the altar. There's going to be fallout. The Mitchells aren't people you want as enemies." She's right, of course. The senator had made that abundantly clear during our divorce in my past life, using his connections to challenge my veterans' benefits, to whisper to potential employers about my instability. But that was after years of bitter marriage and public humiliation. His clean break might play out differently. "I don't care," I say with certainty. "Whatever happens, it's better than the alternative." Which is, the question hangs between us. I can't tell her about the years of slow emotional torture, about Vanessa's affair, about the IED that would have taken my leg in a deployment. I only volunteered for it to escape my crumbling marriage. I can't tell her about the gun in my mouth, and the darkness that followed, or the miraculous second chance that brought me here. Instead, I reached for her hand, feeling its warmth and solidity, so different from Vanessa's cool, manicured fingers. The alternative was a lifetime of pretending. To be someone I'm not, I say simply. and losing the people who loved me for who I really am? Behind us, the church doors burst open. Senator Mitchell emerges, flanked by two broad-shouldered men from his security detail, his face flushed with anger. Vanessa follows, still in her wedding gown, mascara, tracking down her cheeks in a way that somehow looks deliberate rather than genuinely distraught. There he is, the senator bellows, pointing in our direction. Caldwell, you don't walk away from my daughter. Do you understand? Me. You don't humiliate this family. Claire's hand tightens around mine. We should go, she whispers urgently. But I stand my ground, a strange calm settling over me. In my first life, I'd been intimidated by the senator's power and position, allowed his thinly veiled contempt to make me feel small, unworthy of his daughter. It's not this time. I didn't humiliate anyone, Senator, I call back, my voice carrying across the church grounds. I just prevented us both from making a terrible mistake. The security men start down the steps toward us. Several wedding guests have emerged now, phones raised to capture the unfolding drama. Among them, I spot my army buddy Marcus, who looks more amused than shocked. He gives me a subtle thumbs up from behind the senator's back. Jack, please. Claire tugs at my hand. This isn't the place for a confrontation. She's right, as usual. Nothing good can come from a public shouting match with one of Pennsylvania's most powerful political families. I nod and turn away, still holding Claire's hand as we walk quickly toward the parking lot. You can't just disappear, Vanessa shouts after us, her voice cracking with genuine emotion for the first time today. What am I supposed to tell everyone? What about the reception? The honeymoon? I pause, looking back at the woman I almost married twice. In the harsh spring sunlight, I see what I couldn't before: the careful construction of her image, the performance of perfection that had once dazzled me. But beneath it all is someone I never truly knew, because she never allowed herself to be known. Tell them the truth, Vanessa, I say, gentler now. We wanted different things. We're in love with ideas, not each other. Her face contorts with a flash of genuine pain before hardening into something colder. You'll regret this, Jackson. Daddy will make sure of it. The thread hangs in the air, but it doesn't land with the impact she intended. In my first life, those words would have terrified me. Now, having faced death both on the battlefield and by my own hand, the senator's revenge seems like a manageable problem. Let's go, I murmur to Claire, and we continue toward the parking lot. Ignoring the calls and questions from the gathering crowd of guests, Claire leads me to her practical blue Honda, stark contrast to the fleet of luxury vehicles and limousines lined up for the wedding party. Once inside, she turns to me, her expression serious. Where to? Your apartment is filled with wedding gifts and Vanessa's things, and the hotel room for tonight? ... In a honeymoon suite at the Fairmont. Another extravagance I couldn't really afford, but had agreed to because it was expected. I run a hand through my hair, disheveling the perfect styling Vanessa's mother had insisted upon. I hadn't thought that far ahead, I admit. Claire starts the car, her practical nature taking over. We'll go to my place. You can crash there until you figure things out. As we pull away from St. Joseph's, I catch a final glimpse of the scene. In the rearview mirror, Vanessa's white dress stark against the stone steps. The senator gesticulating angrily to a growing crowd, Mrs. Mitchell's rigid posture radiating fury. It's the perfect tableau of a world I'm leaving behind. World of appearances and expectations that nearly destroyed me once before. Claire navigates through Pittsburgh's Oakland neighborhood away from the upscale Shadyside area where the church stands. We drive in silence for several minutes, the enormity of what just happened settling between us. They'll try to spin this, I say finally. The senator has friends at every newspaper and TV station in western Pennsylvania. Claire glances at me, her eyes steady. Let them spin. People who matter know who you really are, Jack. Her unwavering faith in me is humbling. My first life, I'd taken that faith for granted. Too blinded by Vanessa's glamour to recognize the quiet strength beside me all along. Pull over, I say suddenly as we pass Shenley Park. Claire looks concerned but guides the car to the curb. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, I say, unbuckling my seatbelt and turning to face her. For the first time in longer than I can remember, everything feels right. Before we go any further, there's something I need to say. The afternoon sun filters through the oak trees of Shenley Park, casting dappled shadows across Claire's face as she waits for me to speak. A jogger passes by, a dog walker with 2 golden retrievers, normal life continuing around us while my world reshapes itself. I should have done this years ago, I begin, the words coming from a place of absolute certainty. Before the army, before Vanessa, before everything went sideways. Claire's eyes hold mine, patient but guarded. She's been hurt before by me. Unknowingly, when I announced my engagement to Vanessa after returning from my first tour with a silver star and newfound attention from people who'd never given me a second glance before. Claire, you've been there through everything? When my mom died senior year, you were the one who made sure I kept going to class, kept applying to colleges. During basic training, your letters kept me sane. In Afghanistan, knowing you were back, home, believing in me, ... I swallow hard. It meant everything. A slight breeze stirs her auburn hair. She tucks a strand behind her ear, a nervous gesture I've seen 1,000 times. You don't have to say this because you feel bad about the wedding, Jack. Her voice is steady, but vulnerable. Never wanted your pity. This isn't pity, I say firmly. This is me finally seeing what was right in front of me all along. I stood at that altar today, looking out at everyone. The only face that mattered was yours. It's the only person I wanted a future with was sitting in the 3rd row, being stronger than anyone should ever have to be. Earth catches, but she shakes. Her head slightly. You're in shock. You've just walked away from your wedding. This is ... This is adrenaline talking. No, I reach for her hand, needing her to understand. This is clarity. The clearest I've been in years. How do I explain that I've lived through the consequences of the wrong choice? That I know exactly where the path with Vanessa leads to. Betrayal, to loss, to a darkness so complete that it consumed me? That this second chance isn't just about avoiding that fate, but about embracing what should have been all along. I love you, Claire. Not as a friend, not as the girl next door. I love you, your strength, your kindness, the way you never let me get away with my bullshit. The words feel right, true in a way my practiced vows to Vanessa never did. Maybe I always have, but I was too stupid, too blinded by my own insecurities to see it. Tears well in her eyes, but she blinks them back. Claire has never been one for easy emotion. If this is some kind of rebound thing, it's not, I interrupt. It's the opposite. It's coming home. A tear escapes, sliding down her cheek. Up to brush it away, my fingers lingering against her skin. You were engaged to someone else an hour ago? She whispers. You can't just... I can, I say. I am. I'm not asking you to marry me, Claire. I'm not that crazy. I'm just asking for a chance to do things right this time. To see where this goes. Without the distractions, without the noise. She's silent for a long moment, her internal struggle visible in her eyes. Then she takes a deep breath. The Mitchells won't let this go easily. The senator has a reputation for holding grudges. And Vanessa. I know the risks, I say, thinking of how much worse it had been in my first life. After years of marriage and public humiliation, some things are worth it. My phone buzzes in my pocket, the first of what will undoubtedly be hundreds of calls. And messages? I ignore it. When did you know? Claire asks quietly. That marrying her was wrong? It's a question hits close to the impossible truth. I can't tell her about my rebirth, about the future I've already lived and died through. Instead, I give her the closest version of the truth I can. I think I've known for a while. But this morning, waking up on my wedding day, it all became so clear. Like I could suddenly see the road ahead, exactly where it was leading, and I knew. I couldn't walk it. Not when there was another path, a better one. She studies me, those perceptive eyes seeing more than I'm saying. Claire has always been able to read me better than anyone. You're sure? Really sure? Her voice barely above a whisper. Instead of answering with words, I lean forward and kiss her. Not the hesitant, questioning kiss of new beginnings, but something deeper, a kiss that carries the weight of years, of possibilities both lost and found. Her lips are soft against mine, tentative at first, then responding with a warmth that feels like coming home after the longest deployment. When We finally pull apart. The guarded look in her eyes has been replaced by something brighter, though still cautious. I've wanted to do that since high school, I admit, my voice rough. A small smile tugs at her lips. You had your chances. I was an idiot. Yes, she agrees, but she's still smiling. You were. My phone buzzes again, more insistent this time. I pull it out to silence it and see Vanessa's name on the screen. Below it, a stream of notifications. Missed calls from the senator, from Vanessa's mother, from the best man, from the wedding planner. The reality of what I've done, the chaos I've created threatens to crash back in. Claire notices my expression. The fallout begins, she says softly. I silence the phone and slip it back into my pocket. Let it. Claire's apartment is exactly as I remember it, a cozy one-bedroom in Bloomfield with mismatched furniture, overflowing bookshelves, and the faint scent of the lavender candles she's always loved. It feels lived in, authentic in a way Vanessa's perfectly staged condo never did. Walking through the door feels like stepping into a haven, away from the storm I've created. Sorry about the mess, she says, quickly gathering stray papers from the coffee table. I wasn't exactly planning on company today. It's perfect, I tell her, and mean it. In my first life, I'd visited this apartment just once, before Claire moved away after my wedding. I'd forgotten how much it reflected her unpretentious, warm, filled with small treasures that told her story. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing. Since we left the park, finally I power it off completely, unable to face the barrage just yet. The relief is immediate, like putting down a heavy rucksack after a long march. You should probably call your dad, Claire suggests, putting on a pot of coffee before he hears about this from someone else. My father, a taciturn, practical man, who had looked uncomfortable throughout my engagement to Vanessa. In my first life, he'd attended our wedding with stoic resignation, then watched silently as my marriage disintegrated. After my injury, he'd been the one to drive me to VA appointments without comment or judgment, a silent pillar I'd leaned on more than I admitted. He never liked her, I say, realizing it fully now. He saw through the whole thing from the beginning. Claire hands me her landline. Then he'll probably be relieved. My father answers on the second ring. Hello, Dad. It's me. I'm using Claire's phone. A pause. Shouldn't you be getting married right about now? That's why I'm calling. The wedding's off. I couldn't go through with it. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, you at Claire's place? Yeah, good. The simple approval in that single word speaks volumes. You need anything? Not right now. But there might be some ... complications. The senator isn't happy. My father snorts. Robert Mitchell's been unhappy since the day he was born. Man's never worked an honest day in his life. Coming from my father, a 40-year union electrician, there's no greater condemnation. You need a place to stay. Your old room's still there. Thanks, Dad. I'll let you know, Jackson, he says, before I can hang up, his voice gruff with rare emotion. I'm proud of you, son. It takes courage to walk away from a mistake before you make it. The words hit me harder than I expected. In my first life, that pride had turned to worry, then to grief, as he watched me spiral after my divorce and injury. By the end, he'd aged 20 years and 5. The strain of watching his only son self-destruct etched into every line of his face. Thanks, Dad, I manage, my throat tight. That means a lot. After we hang up, I sit heavily on Claire's sofa, the enormity of the day washing over me. Claire brings 2 mugs of coffee and sits beside me, not touching but close enough that I can feel her warmth. What now? She asks softly. It's a question with layers. What now for me, for us, for the fallout from today's disaster? Now, I say, taking a sip of coffee, grateful for its grounding bitterness, I face the consequences, return the gifts. Move out of the apartment Vanessa and I were sharing, find my own place, at the practical steps of dismantling a life I'd nearly committed to again. And us? Claire asks, her voice steady, despite the vulnerability of the question. I turn to face her fully. I meant what I said in the park, but I understand if you need time. If you're worried about being a rebound or getting caught in the crossfire with the Mitchells, this won't be pretty, and I don't want to drag you into a mess you didn't create. She considers this, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee mug. I've been in love with you since we were 17, Jack. When you came back with that medal, and Vanessa, on your arm, I thought I'd lost my chance forever. I watched you plan a wedding to another woman, helped you pick out the damn tie you wore today. Her eyes meet mine, resolute. I'm not afraid of a little mess. Her courage humbles me. In my first life, I never knew the depth of what she'd sacrificed, the strength it took to stand by me even as I chose someone else. You deserve better than a little mess, I say. You deserve someone who sees you clearly from the start, not an idiot who needed a second chance to get it right. The words slip out before I can catch them too close to my impossible truth. Claire tilts her head, studying me. Second chance? I cover quickly. Figure of speech. Feels like I've been given another shot at doing things right. She nods. But there's a flicker of something in her eyes, that perceptiveness that always saw more than I wanted her to, before she can press further. A sharp knock at the door makes us both jump. Claire rises, peering through the peephole, her shoulders tense. It's Marcus, she says, glancing back at me. He looks worried. Marcus, my army buddy, my would-be best man, the only friend from home that Vanessa had approved for the wedding party. In my first life, he'd stood stoically beside me at the altar. Then later confessed during my divorce that he'd always thought Vanessa was wrong for me. Claire opens the door. Marcus rushes in, still wearing his groomsman's tux, his normally jovial face deadly serious. Man, you need to turn on the news, he says without preamble. The senator's gone nuclear. Claire fumbles for the remote. Turning on her small TV, the local news is already midway through the story, my story with footage of the church, and a stern-faced reporter recounting the shocking jilting of Senator Mitchell's daughter by decorated war veteran Jackson Caldwell. But it's the ticker at the bottom of the screen that makes my blood run cold. Senator Mitchell alleges Caldwell suffering from PTSD, questions military psychological screening. He's claiming I'm mentally unstable, I say, the familiar rage building. In my first life, the senator had used my PTSD diagnosis after my injury to challenge my fitness as a parent when Vanessa and I briefly discussed having children. Now, he's weaponizing it preemptively. Marcus nods grimly. Gets worse. He's calling for a review of your Silver Star citation, suggesting your erratic behavior calls your judgment into question. The room spins slightly. My medal earned. During a firefight where I'd dragged 3 wounded comrades to safety under heavy fire, had been the one unambiguously good thing to come from my service. In my first life, it had remained untarnished even as everything else fell apart. He can't do that, Claire says, her voice tight with anger. That's crossing a line. He's a powerful man with friends in the Pentagon, Marcus replies. He can't officially rescind the medal, but he can smear Jack's reputation, make people question whether he deserved it. I sink back onto the sofa, the familiar feeling of walls closing in, threatening to overwhelm me. Is this second chance destined to be as poisoned as the first? Will the senator's vindictiveness follow me regardless of when or how I break with Vanessa? Claire sits beside me, taking my hand firmly in hers. We're not letting him do this, she says, a fierce determination in her voice I've rarely heard. This isn't just about you and Vanessa anymore. He's attacking your service, your sacrifice. Marcus nods, loosening his body. The guys from the unit won't stand for it either. We were all there that day. We know what you did. He pulls out his phone. Reynolds is already putting together statements from everyone who was in that firefight. That might not be enough, I say, the tactical part of my brain kicking in. The senator has media connections, political influence. This could turn into a he said, she said that drags on for months. Claire stands suddenly, a flash of inspiration crossing her face. Unless we change the narrative completely. She turns to Marcus. The senator's attacking Jack for leaving Vanessa, claiming he's unstable. But what if this isn't about Jack leaving Vanessa at all? Marcus raises an eyebrow. What do you mean, what if? Claire hesitates, then straightens her shoulders. What if this is about Jack finally recognizing who he truly loves? A love story, not a scandal. Understanding dawns on Marcus's face, the jilted bride versus the childhood sweetheart. The society wedding versus the true love that never died. He grins slowly. That's an angle the public might actually root for. I stand, looking between them. You want to use you and me as a shield against the senator's attacks? Claire meets my gaze steadily. Is it using us? If it's the truth? The question hangs between us, loaded with meaning. In my first life, I'd been a coward, unwilling to stand by my own heart, too easily swayed by others' expectations. The consequences had been catastrophic. This time, the path forward is suddenly, blindingly clear. You're right, I say, taking Claire's hand. The truth is our best defense. And the truth is, I left Vanessa because I couldn't marry someone I didn't love, not when I finally realized who I do love. Marcus's phone buzzes, glances at it, his expression growing serious again. The senator's called a press conference for 5 p.m. at his campaign headquarters. He's going all in on this. Then we go all in too, Claire says with quiet determination. She turns to me. Are you ready for this? Once we step into the public eye together, there's no going back. Am I ready? My first life? I'd hidden from conflict, tried to please everyone, and lost myself in the process. The path had led to misery, to that final dark moment with the gun. This second chance isn't just about avoiding that fate. It's about having the courage to live authentically. Whatever the cost, I'm ready, I say, and feel the truth of it settle in my bones. The senator wants a war. Let's give him a love story instead. 6 months later, Claire and I stand on the deck of her father's cabin in the Allegheny Mountains, watching the sunset paint the autumn leaves in shades of gold and crimson. My hand rests on the small of her back, her head against my shoulder, casual intimacy that still feels miraculous. The senator's campaign against me backfired spectacularly. Public, it turned out. Preferred the narrative of a soldier following his heart to the vindictive attacks of a powerful politician. My fellow soldiers' testimonials about the firefight. That earned my Silver Star, along with leaked documents showing the senator had pressured the VA to review my confidential medical records. Turned public opinion firmly in our favor. Vanessa, surprisingly, was the one who finally ended the vendetta. In a move that shocked everyone, she gave a single interview acknowledging that our relationship had been built more on mutual ambition than love, and asking her father to stand down. I never learned what prompted her moment of honesty, but I was grateful for it. Penny for your thoughts, Claire murmurs, bringing me back to the present. Just thinking about how different things could have been, I say, tightening my arm around her. How close I came to missing this. She turns in my embrace, studying my face with those perceptive eyes. You know, you never really explained what happened that morning. What made you so certain, so suddenly? I've never told her about my rebirth, about the future I lived and died through. How could I explain the inexplicable? But looking into her eyes now, I realize I don't need to explain the mechanism of my second chance to share its meaning. Let's just say I got a glimpse of a future without you in it, I tell her, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. And I couldn't bear it. She smiles, accepting this partial truth. Well, I'm glad you came to your senses, even if it was at the last possible moment. Me too, I whisper, kissing her softly as the last rays of sunlight filter through the trees. Me too. If you've ever had that moment where you knew you needed to change your path before it was too late, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is choose differently when given a second chance. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of love, courage, and redemption. Next week, we'll explore how one woman's decision to walk away from a toxic relationship led her to discover her true calling. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss it.